City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days. If these families cannot find their own housing within that time, they have to return to the Roosevelt Hotel and reapply for shelter.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about outrage in New York City after the brand new policy that evicts migrant families after a certain period of time in shelters, hotels, wherever they're staying. Now, shout out to New York City Mayor Eric Adams for finally growing a pair and doing something to get these migrants out the way. Listen, if you are coming to the country illegally, bogarting your way in, coming across the wall, coming through the razor wire, all this and that, and you think that you are owed or entitled to shelter, to food and everything else, when we as Americans have our own issues with homelessness, poverty, hunger, then I have no sympathy for you. Now, the little kids that are brought into it, that's not their fault. It's their parents' fault. So the parents can take the kids back to where they came from after they get evicted. Or you know what? Here's something else. Rather than the tens of thousands of migrants coming to the border every single day, it might kind of dwindle a little bit. If you're not going to be able to get through the Texas razor wire, or you can't go to Chicago or New York City without being outside in the freezing cold, it's 0 degrees below zero, it's completely freezing. You got snow, wind, rain, ice, all that good stuff. If you can't really live anywhere, then maybe it's best you stay in your country of origin. Okay. Shout out to the Central Americans coming over here. I hear it's pretty nice down by Cancun this time of the year. Stay down that way. Okay. You coming from Africa somewhere. It's very nice in Equatorial Guinea. You right there on the equator. China, Japan, wherever you came from, Europe. Hey, you're used to that climate. You have a home out there. Stay over there and don't come here. I have zero sympathy for these people coming across and not finding a place to live. And if they do find a place to live, they get evicted because they shouldn't be there anyway. However, some, I guess you would say, migrant advocates in New York City, they have a bleeding heart and they feel like this is the wrong way to go about it. Now, before I go any further, let's get into the news clip. If you want to see the clip in full, link as always will be in the box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
So because of the cold weather, there's been a lot of attention on migrant families who are being evicted from local shelters after 60 days.
All right, Fox 5's Morgan McKay live outside the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown. And Morgan, both immigration advocates and local politicians are demanding an end to this policy.
Exactly, Stephen, Teresa. As everyone knows, it has been freezing out here, and this new policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days has been in place for almost 2 weeks. Now, behind me, you can see the Roosevelt Hotel. This has been serving as a welcome center for newly arriving migrants, and now the reticketing center for migrant families with eviction notices.
Our mayor is a slumlord.
City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days.
Let's pause right here. If you are a regular New York City resident and anybody in New York City, okay, Manhattan, Harlem, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, wherever you are, y'all let me know what's going on. If you don't pay your rent, if you can't pay your mortgage, you are getting tossed out. Doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, windy, rainy. Doesn't matter. You're getting tossed out. So if you are subject to that law, to that rule in New York City, then why are the migrants allowed to just stay wherever they want to stay in perpetuity? Why are they allowed to shelter in your taxpayer-funded schools for free? Why? This is a rule that makes sense. And if it was me, if I could be the king and just rule by fiat, I would say we're going to ban all these people we're going to ban all the migrants from the entire city. Okay. If you're not able to prove citizenship, actual citizenship, not asylum status, citizenship, then you got to go. And if you don't have anywhere to be, then hey man, that's on you.
If these families cannot find their own housing within that time, they have to return to the Roosevelt Hotel and reapply for shelter. While a similar policy for single adult migrants has been in place for several months, this new recent policy change that now impacts migrant families with children has many, including the city council speaker, pushing back against the mayor.
I urge the mayor to abandon this counterproductive and cruel tactic and instead pursue more sound management.
Last week, the administration amended this policy so that pregnant migrants in their third trimester and women with newborn babies will not receive eviction notices until their babies turn 6 months old. In response to the rally, the Adams administration says they've had to make these drastic policy decisions because they are out of room and resources to care.
Now let's pause right here about the whole thing with the babies. The hotel, the Roosevelt, that was like a baby mill. They said it was like 2 to 3 babies being born every week because you know how it goes with the anchor babies. If a woman comes across and she's pregnant and has a child here, she is less likely to be deported, or she probably won't be deported because how they going to deport the mom with a baby? You see what I'm saying? And the baby is a U.S. citizen. So there's no way to actually deport the baby because you have birthright citizenship. You got a U.S. citizen baby, non-citizen, illegal alien mother. She will not be deported.
For such a large number of migrants, calling again for a federal solution. More than 170,000 migrants have received care since the spring of 2022, and 68,000 migrants are currently being housed by the city.
170,000 since spring 22. So you're talking about just over a year and a half, 18 months, right around then. Okay. 170,000. But how many have come to the actual southern border within that same period of time? Millions. And they're making Texas just deal with it because there's no help from the federales. All the federales do is, quote unquote, process them at the point of entry. Meanwhile, they're just piling up in Texas. So Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is sending them to sanctuary city, sanctuary states. Hey, you say you're a sanctuary city. You say you're a sanctuary state. Take all these migrants into your so-called sanctuary. Why not?
City Speaker Diana Ayala disagreed with the mayor that the city is out of room.
I've been in meetings where I have been told directly that one of the motives for this policy is really to make people uncomfortable enough. So I don't believe that the mayor is being honest.
Advocates also say that moving kids around to different shelters disrupts their education, with some kids being forced to bounce around to different schools.
They have not been getting all the help this administration claims they've been giving them. These human beings are being moved from shelter to shelter. Shelter staff have lost their mail and say that since they moved, they had to return their mail to...
Mail? How are you getting mail at a shelter? How does that work? How are you a non-citizen living in a shelter getting mail? What's going on there? I mean, are we working? Are we living here? We got kids going to school. What's happening?
Sender. These are life-changing documents.
Now, according to a recent Siena College poll that came out this morning, more than 80% of New Yorkers say that the recent migrant influx is a serious problem.
It is a serious problem, and I would say go back to your country of origin. Listen, if there's a problem here, you can't get your mail or whatever, okay, you know what? I sympathize and I receive that complaint. But as I close, I want to say this. If it's so bad, if the conditions are so poor, then I'm sure there's somewhere else that is better, like wherever you came from. I'm sure you weren't living in a homeless shelter in Africa, Asia, Europe, or wherever South America, wherever you came from, because to get over here is not free. It costs a pretty penny to come to the U.S. to get smuggled in. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on the mayor's new policy? Okay, if you're in a shelter, 60 days, and you got to go, come back to the Roosevelt, try to reapply, but you can't just be here forever. Is it a good thing, bad thing, whatever your thoughts are? Let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I mean, it's a start. I'm not going to sit here and sing Mayor Eric Adams' praises like he's doing the best job in the world. This is a start. If it was me, they wouldn't be in the city at all. You're not going to take over this landmark hotel. You're not going to be taking over schools that kids go to, active schools that are occupied by 2,000, 3,000 New York City residents, actual tax-paying citizens, parents paying for the school. You're not going to do that. So he's already gone above and beyond what I would do. I wouldn't be a sanctuary city. Let's start right there. I wouldn't be a sanctuary state. Let's start right there. So this is a good beginning place, but let's go further here, Eric. Let's go further here, Kathy Hochul, governor of New York State. Let's go all the way and resolve the problem. Rather than trying to point fingers at Greg Abbott, do what you had been doing before, Eric Adams, up until recently, pointing a finger at the federales, Joe Biden, the administration, allowing the border to be inundated with all these people who are now flooding your city streets. You don't have the resources. You're trying to cut resources to pay for it. You don't have the space. You're occupying schools and whatnot to do with them. Go all the way and fix the problem. This is a good start, but keep on going. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.